Good morning and welcome to The Secret Behind Our Success. I am Rebecca Rausch, your host and head lizard at Neon Lizard Creative Marketing and Design, where we build foundational brands with social impact. Find us on the web at neonlizardcreative.com. Today, we are pleased as punch to welcome none other than Dean Wagner. Is it Wegner? I did not know.
Wegner it is, yes, with an E.
Oh, I had it right. Good. He is the founder of Authentically American brand, headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. Do tell us all about yourself.
Well, first of all, Rebecca, thank you for inviting me. I'm just honored to be a guest. And Authentically American, we're all about building a brand and knowing what you're all about and the incredible success you've helped others build. It's just an honor to be here with you.
Oh, thanks. Well, we're really glad to have you. What started you doing this? How did you get started doing this?
Well, I think one of the mantras for me, one of the things that has driven me my entire life is that insatiable desire, that passion to make a difference.
Ooh, I like it.
Yes. And, my professional career, I've been blessed because I had the opportunity to attend West Point. So that was my undergraduate. Mm-hmm. And I went to flight school, learned how to fly helicopters. I then went to the Army Special Forces Ranger School and then spent 7 years active duty in the Army. And loved that, loved serving my country, loved the men and women I served with. So there was really that feeling of making a difference there, and then had some incredible business experience. Spent a couple of years with a big five consulting firm, KPMG, which loved that work, Rebecca, but loved my family more, and I never saw them. It was Monday through Friday, every week on the road. And then much of my professional career was in consumer packaged goods. So Procter & Gamble, worked on brands like Crest and Tide, and then also spent time at Mars working on brands like M&Ms and Snickers. And if you think about those brands and how iconic, if you think of the overall company, Procter & Gamble, an $80 billion company, Mars, a $40 billion company. And I had big roles, was well compensated, had a lot of breakthrough, but I just felt like I was never making a difference. If I got pulled out at some point, P&G, Mars was just going to keep going on. And that really was the burning desire, to go down the path of Authentically American. And 4 years ago, we were a blank sheet of paper. It was that burning desire to make a difference.
Wow. Now, were you a designer or a marketing director, or what was your purpose there?
I was more business development, sales, customer marketing. So, that demand creation side.
That sounds great. Now, you're working with your wife, Kelly, correct?
That's where it started. And I should have let off there, Rebecca, because when people say, Dean, what's most important to you? I talk about God, family, and country. And my Christian faith is first and foremost in my life. And then you mentioned my wife, Kelly. This August, Rebecca, we'll celebrate 27 years. And we have 4 amazing kids. Yes, we've got 4 amazing kids. So we have 2 daughters, 23 and 20. We have a 17-year-old son, and we also have an 11-year-old son we adopted from Ethiopia. Wow, so family is incredibly important as well. And then we talked about West Point serving our country in the Army. So that's the country piece as well.
Well, in the 80s, most of the apparel worn in America was made in America, but today it's not like that. So how were you able to break through and kind of change that Titanic that we got here?
Well,
we were losing all of that. That's
first
awesome.
of all, Rebecca, it's not been easy, but I'll give everybody who's listening just a brief historical context. So you mentioned the 80s. It was 75% then. When I graduated from West Point in 93, over 50% of the apparel in the U.S. was made in the U.S. And today, Rebecca, it's less than 3%. That is all that's made here. And our tagline is, where's yours made? And whether we're sitting with a client, because we have a B2B side, I love to ask the question, well, great looking shirt, where's yours made? And most people, Rebecca, will say, well, Dean, I have no idea, but I'm very curious. And they will look and be like, made in China? We're in the middle of a global pandemic. And most people don't even think about that. And that's something that we have an opportunity to raise that level of awareness, because as a brand, we're very proud of the ethos and what we believe in. So we're a brand that celebrates patriotism. We're a brand that believes in the American worker, which is why everything is produced and sourced, everything here in America. And we're also a brand, Rebecca, that honors our American heroes very intentionally. We donate 10% of our profits to veteran and first responder charities.
I love that. I think, as I told you in our preface when we were talking, having a brand that makes a social impact is, it may feel small. It doesn't have to be a giant financial gift anywhere. As long as you're making an impact, it's kind of the starfish story. It's one shirt at a time, one cup at a time. You're changing the world and how people view the country and how they view themselves and how much they value their heritage. So I love that.
Well, as I said, Rebecca, that is what motivates me, that energizes me, that opportunity to make a difference. And to give you some context, 4 years ago, I don't have a blank sheet of paper. But really, this was my business plan. It started from a blank sheet of paper. Yes. And in one respect, Rebecca, I'm exhausted because it's literally been brick by brick, just building the foundation. And now our supply chain, for example, is, contract manufacturing across 12 US states. You've been on our website, authenticallyamerican.us. You've seen the story behind our brand. The product, the branding, the design, the social media, the team, everything. So in one respect, I'm exhausted, Rebecca, but I will tell you, I'm even more energized because when you start with a blank sheet of paper, you can be so intentional about who you are and what you stand for as a brand and your values and our vision and our mission. So our vision is to build this iconic American brand that's truly American made. And really the heart of our mission is that passion about creating jobs, creating American jobs.
Now, do you specifically try to employ past military veterans, things of that nature as well?
I absolutely do, Rebecca. And the first and most important criteria is we want to hire the best. Mm-hmm. But then when we have an opportunity to hire veterans, we absolutely do. So roughly about half of our team are either veterans or a spouse of a veteran or, very connected to the veterans. So when we talk about honoring our American heroes and intentionally donating 10%, that is something that resonates broadly within our population, but very much resonates within our team.
That's great. By chance, have you heard of the group Beyond the Uniform?
Beyond the Uniform? No, tell me more.
Well, I'll have to connect you. I interviewed a gentleman the other day on this podcast, and he runs Beyond the Uniform. He's got a company called Captivate where they help break out social media into little pieces from webinars and things like this. So it's really neat. So
sounds like somebody I definitely need to talk to.
He's a great guy. And yeah, he's a really, really terrific guy. We had a great time. That was Justin Nasiri. I'll have to tell him I talked him up on the podcast.
All right.
But, yeah, that's something that you might want to connect with. So I'll make sure that we do that.
Oh, please do.
Now, you reference on your paperwork that you want to be the next Nike or Under Armour. How do you plan on doing that? It looks like you've got so many variations, not just sportswear. Yeah. So what is your plan?
And I should clarify, Rebecca, I don't want to be Nike. I don't want to be Under Armour or Polo, but when you think of the Nike swoosh or you think of the Under Armour logo, probably there's 99.9% brand recognition. Everybody recognizes that. Mm-hmm. And that's where ultimately want to go. And another one of my favorite mantras is go big or go home.
That's one of mine. That's our family one.
And when you think, I've worked with brands like Crest and Tide and M&M's, and all of them are unique and different and play in different categories, but all of them in their own right are iconic. People know them, they love them, and that's really what we want to deliver. And from a revenue standpoint, those brands are all well north of $1 billion, so we've got a long way to go to get there. But that's that go big or go home mantra. We want to build this iconic American brand that's truly American made, that everyone recognizes our brand, everyone loves the brand, and that we're generating north of $1 billion in revenue.
You are already?
No.
Or you're
that is the vision. That's the long term.
Okay, I didn't know about that. My hair's doing weird things on this thing today. Okay, I think that's awesome. And I love that you think big, you don't think small. And I think most clients or most people need to think that way, because even if you don't make it all the way, at least you made it a lot further than you would have if you just tried a little bit, But when you think big, you're going to go further.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that old mantra that if you shoot for the moon and miss, then at least you'll be amongst the stars.
That's right. I love it. You're full of mantras. We're going to have to write a book on your mantras. I love it. That's the kind of thing our people need to know, because everybody that's listening to this podcast is somewhere in their career and they're looking forward, and they want to hear from people like you that have gone and created something out of nothing and have done it beautifully. What would you say is the key thing that has helped you be as successful as you are?
I'll tell you, Rebecca, one of my favorite words, and it's not really a mantra, but one of my favorite words is around intentional.
Love it.
And, when you talk about God, family, and country, and it is tough being an entrepreneur, starting a business from a blank sheet of paper, but I make sure the very first thing I do, it's an intentional choice. I'm on my knees, a time of devotion, time of prayer, and that's how I start my day. That's how I end my day. And then I also make sure that from a family standpoint, my wife and I, we have regular date nights. I mentioned my 4 amazing kids. So we make sure that we spend quality time with them. I've coached my kids, and it's not easy, but just like I would be intentional about you and I, we had this podcast on the calendar. I wasn't going to miss it. If my wife and I having a date, we have a daddy-daughter date with one of my daughters. We don't miss that as well. So that's one of the words that really resonates with me, is about being intentional. And that's what we are as a business. We're very intentional about who we are and the product that we produce and what we stand for.
That's fantastic. I love that. And I think that's advice that we can all take home. And I'm gonna ask a question. It's a little bit off the cuff. Let me download it here. First thing I'm gonna do is, as people are listening to this, they might say, what do they really like? So I'm gonna do the Ocean Personality Quiz. Have you ever done that?
I have not. So now you're making me nervous, Rebecca.
I have been doing it with everybody. It is a very simple personality quiz to let people know more about you from another angle.
Got it.
Okay, so it's 6 questions. You would answer low, medium, or high. High meaning, yep, that's me. And nope, no, I'm not that for sure. So low is that. So is rated on the 6 points. Openness. If you're high in openness, you love trying new things and having new experiences. Are you low, medium, or high?
I would say medium, Rebecca.
Really? See, I would put you in the high category because you were brave enough to start
and I have grown into that, and it's a longer story, but I think probably right now I would say, given the fact we started from a blank sheet of paper, a high, but I didn't realize, for example, that it was in my DNA to start something from scratch. I
had a little help, if you know what I mean.
Oh, amen. And one of the things, Rebecca, that I heard most common, for example, at Procter & Gamble was, Dean, what are you doing? We don't do it that way. That's not the Procter way. And I was like, well, why not? So I was more of that entrepreneur, that, entrepreneurial thinking within a large organization. As we've continued down this journey, I realized that, that entrepreneur, that, creative thinking, problem solving is really something inherent in my DNA.
That's fantastic. That was actually a Jordan Peterson conversation where he was talking about how businesses need to have creatives in their upper echelon, because a lot of times the CEOs and CCOs do not have that creative edge that can think outside the box that might be the better solution. So
absolutely.
Your company is very lucky to have you in that respect. Your next one is conscientiousness. What is your level when you approach organization and details? If you are high in conscientiousness, you love organization and you love details. I'm guessing you're high because you were military.
I am very high on that, but what I'm also thankful for as well, back to creative ideas, that I've got a team that really is taking that level of detail to a higher level, because I'm moving more and more into that visionary role and have an opportunity, like you and I are, to talk and share our story. And whether it's on national TV or a keynote speech, really having that opportunity to be, the voice for our brand. And then I'm thankful because we have an amazing team here in Nashville with me. And I will tell you, Rebecca, as we get closer to that $1 billion threshold, 5-10 years from now, if you and I are still talking and we have an incredible success story, it will have nothing to do about me. It will have everything to do about the team that I've hired, and in turn, the team that they've hired and the leaders that they've developed. That's, to me, what it's all about.
I'm the same way with my team. I'm so lucky to be surrounded by greatness. So, okay. So the next one is extroversion. If you are an extrovert, you thrive being around people. You just can't get enough.
I put myself as a medium, and I describe this as I'm more of an introverted extrovert. I love, for example, going and attending a networking event, meeting people, spending that time, whether it's an hour, 2, 3, whatever time frame it is. But when it's done, I need a little me time. I need to go in and get a workout. I need to go ahead and spend just a little time to decompress and re-energize. But it's a little bit of both for me.
I've been the same way. It's like I like everybody, but I want to go home. Agreeableness. If you rate high in agreeableness, you are likely a friendly and compassionate people pleaser.
I put myself in the medium standpoint.
Okay. So
and
right down the middle.
reason being, there are some things that absolutely will not compromise, never, ever. And it's more along the things around character and integrity and making sure that we as a business are, treating our customers well. We're treating our suppliers with respect. So there's those things that will never compromise. But in terms of more of the subjective things around our brand strategies, I mean, I make sure that I'm very intentional. God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I make sure I'm listening to those viewpoints. And especially when it's not right or wrong, I think it's important for me as our leader, you have to hear those viewpoints.
That's right. Okay, neuroticism. Neurotic isn't a bad thing. It just means that you worry and have anxiety, and maybe you have high stress levels and might be a bit sharp-tongued at times.
I am on the low standpoint, and I think that's one that I'm thankful for, that military training. And, we can share a story later about Ranger School if there's time for that. But I mean, Ranger School, that's Special Forces training, and I went through that, and everything associated with the military, I think, helps put me down on that low level. And my wife jokes that the higher the stress, the higher the level of challenge, the better I perform.
Wow, not everybody can say that. Most of us are the opposite, so that's fantastic. That's the kind of leader everybody wants.
And it's not been easy, Rebecca, the last 4 years. I mean, to be a small business that is producing products in America, and all of a sudden a global pandemic hits and there's threats of shutting down everything. So that was a little bit of stress and anxiety last year.
Now, are you getting into the local stores or the national stores right now? Are you in with some of the larger retailers?
We really are not, and it's going to be challenging for us to do that, Rebecca. And reason being, when you think back to 50% being made in the U.S. in 93 to only 3% now, the reason that is because apparel production is so labor intensive, and that's why people are chasing cheap labor overseas. So that labor overseas has kept coming up where it's a point where we're being competitive. But if we had too many middlemen, if we had too many retailers in between. So think of Dell's old original model around Go Direct. I mean, that's more where we're at right now. So we have our own retail, online. And then we also have a client side of our business. So if you're familiar with Land's End, so a business owner, a charity can go to Land's End, and whether it's a polo or a button down or a lot of different things like that, you can get them all from Land's End, but not a single one of them is American made. So we have that client side of our business where if you're a business owner and your values are authentically American, like Rebecca, you can call us, you can partner with us, and you will absolutely, first and foremost, experience amazing American-made product, but then you will love the brand that you are partnered with, and you will even more so love the customer experience that you have.
That's great. So our final question, are you ready? Do you feel like do you feel complete? Do you feel like you shared everything you want to share about your brand?
Well, we could talk for about 12 more hours straight and I would still keep going, but
I know I'm the same way about graphic design. I can talk forever. Okay, so your final question is, the final quirky question. What are your top 3 rules for life?
Top 3 rules for life.
It's custom just for you.
Yes, I think it really starts to, boil down to where I talked on, first my priorities. So not necessarily my rules, but I think it's where I spend my time and back to being intentional. So, that's around God, family, and country. And I think those are priorities. But the other one that I put in there is all around my health and fitness, because I don't work out nearly as long as I would like, but I make sure, Rebecca, every day we get one in, because the hours that I put in and the limited amount of sleep I get, it's counterintuitive. But if I don't get that, really hard exercise in, get that good sweat going, I'm not going to have the energy and capacity, one, for work, but even more importantly for my family at the end of the day.
That's fantastic. I think that's great advice. Do you have a third one? I think you could do one more.
So I think the other one, back to West Point and duty, honor, and country.
There you go.
I think I am a man of my word. That is so important to me. And I've always embraced that definition of character, that you do what's right, even when no one else is watching.
I love it. Okay. So if someone wants to get a hold of you and they want to order something from your product line, do you want them to go straight to the website? Would you rather them call you?
Well, the best place, Rebecca, always is to go to our website, so authenticallyamerican.us. And I should highlight this because there's really 3 segments of our business. So if you are a business owner, if you're a charity, you're an organization, so that's the client side of our business. And we've got an amazing team that not only provides you with amazing custom design product that aligns with your brand, but it's an amazing customer experience as well. So that's one side. The second one is our consumer brand, and that's with our vintage US flag, similar to what I'm wearing. So you'll see that listed as our classic collection. And the other one, Rebecca, is our collegiate collection.
I didn't see that.
So we have collegiate licenses. So we started out with the service academies. So West Point, my alma mater. We have Naval Academy, Air Force Academy. We have all the military schools now. We also have local Nashville schools like Vanderbilt and Belmont. We just added Alabama, the #1 collegiate license. And then we've got more in the works like Auburn. And we just had somebody reach out about Michigan. And if you would allow me to do this, I would love to do, Rebecca, a quick kindergarten style show and tell.
Absolutely. I'm not sure that this will be visual, but I might be able to pull out pieces of it and put it on the internet for us.
Well, got it. Well, I'll show you this. And I wish, Rebecca, first of all, I love that we're here seeing each other, but if we were here in person, you could feel this shirt and you would be like, Dean, that is incredibly soft. And that, again, is intentional. We want our shirts to be incredibly soft. And I'm showing the Alabama logo. And if you were to feel this logo, you wouldn't even feel it, because another intentional choice is we only use a water-based ink, that soft hand ink, because a lot of people will think of the t-shirts they have in their closet and there's that heavy plastisol ink, and on a hot summer day, it will stick to your chest. It will go ahead and crack after you wash it a few times. And we want our shirts to be incredibly soft across the board. What we have, Rebecca, is this new sweat activated print innovation. So if you are an Alabama fan, one of the things you often will yell out is Roll Tide. And here's what happens. So I've got a little water bottle and I'm going to squirt the shirt so you can see how Roll Tide magically appears. And then on the back, there's our vintage US flag logo, Rebecca. And then on the back, another one of their favorite mantras, is where legends are made. And here's why I like to highlight this, Rebecca, because we're all about American made, but we are more importantly a consumer brand. And if you go to our website, buy something, you're like, this product is awful. I mean, you're never going to buy from us. But what happens is people go, Dean, I don't care where this shirt is made. It's incredibly soft. The print, I can't even feel it. And that technology, wow. And then, Rebecca, here's what happens. They look at the tag and they're like, American made? There's nothing in my closet American made. And then they go to our website, authenticallyamerican.us. They learn the story and the ethos behind our brand. That's when we really have an opportunity to captivate them and really be their lifelong brand.
That's fantastic. Do you do UT too? University of Tennessee?
It's coming. My wife and my daughter have been working on me, and we'll have to add ETSU as well.
Or MTSU.
We do have that one. That one will launch, I believe it's next week.
That's great. Do you have the spray on that?
We do, and I'm forgetting. Don't ask me what magically appears. I'm forgetting.
I have relatives in Murfreesboro, so I've got them in Murfreesboro and on the closer to Virginia.
Well, I will absolutely share with you because we're excited, and I won't do a good job describing it, but there's an old, more vintage-like logo from MTSU that we have that will be the design that is included with it. I know you're big about design, so I think you will love seeing it.
We were doing a bunch of hockey design for hockey uniforms and things, and we just love doing that. That was so much fun to do.
Well, you are speaking my language now because I played hockey at West Point, Rebecca, and continue to play in a men's beer league now. So every Sunday night I get out and play.
In Nashville. I didn't even think about that because I never really knew much about hockey when I was in Tennessee. So that's kind of neat that it's in Tennessee.
Well, I will tell you, with the Predators 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago, having gone to the Stanley Cup final, have you been to Nashville?
I have been to Nashville many times, yes.
I mean, Nashville, most people think of Broadway. So right on Broadway, it's Bridgestone Arena. There were 17,000 just fans going crazy because it was Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. But the city of Nashville realized that this was a hockey town, and there were jumbotrons all around Bridgestone Arena. There were over 100,000 fans outside Bridgestone Arena watching the game.
That's crazy.
And it was just incredible.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm going to have to learn more about that then.
Well, next time you come to Nashville, you've got a friend here. And
thank you. That's awesome. If you come back to Minnesota, of course, you know people up here.
Absolutely.
Since you were living up here for a while. So that's great. Now, did you love hockey before Tennessee? Did you learn to love it up here? Did you grow up doing hockey?
I was born in a little city called Messina, New York, which is way up north on the Canadian border. Okay. So that was definitely the sport that everyone grew up playing. So I was skating at 3 and playing organized hockey at 5. And I've been from 5 all the way now to 50 playing.
That's fantastic. I was too cheap to do that. I was afraid my boys would get into it. I was like, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And I've got, I think I had mentioned I have daughters who are 23 and 20. We have a 17-year-old son. He's a hockey player, and his dream is to be playing, for the Wild or for the Predators, playing in the NHL. But my 11-year-old.
I got a house full of kids. He can come hang out with us. Right. They're all in that same age range. Mine are 13, 15, 19, and 21, all at home.
Well, you've got a full house as well.
Oh, yeah. We're on a little hobby farm, so we got all sorts of animals and critters and people.
Well, Rebecca, my 11-year-old, we adopted him from Ethiopia, and he is falling in love with the game of hockey as well. And his goal, he wants to be the first ever Ethiopian-born professional hockey player.
That's so cool. There hasn't been that already?
There has not. No one has ever been from Ethiopia that has ever played in the NHL. So that's his dream.
That's fantastic. I love that. It's a great dream. Go big, boy. Go big.
Go big or go home. And I don't like going home.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. I hope we haven't taken too long of your time. I have loved having you on, and I look forward to our listeners listening to this and learning about your fabulous brand. I know that our family we're going to eat this up. I'm going to have to show it to my husband and my kids because we've got flags everywhere. We love flags. Well,
awesome. Well, I'm honored to call you a friend now, Rebecca, and thank you so much for having me as a guest.
Thank you. Now, don't log off because we got to finish up. But thank you for listening to The Story Behind Our Success. We'll talk to you next time.